posted on Canvas like usual as both an announcement and an assignment. So make sure to go check that out. I think there was a little bit of a misunderstanding about the Rube Goldberg project. A lot of people thought it was due today. It is not due until Monday, the 1st. So if you're panicking about that, you still have time. Don't worry about it. But that is your goal for Monday, is just make sure you make a final video. Decorations are an option, like it's optional, but I do encourage you to do that. But that's not something you'll be graded on. You're just graded on the timing, running unaided, and completing at least 4 of those tasks. Also, please make sure that you're keeping track of your missing assignments like usual. All right, first thing I wanted to do was dive into the homework. Hopefully you all watched that video and got something out of it. So we kind of mentioned this earlier too. Who, or I should say, what type of eater are we most likely going to be sending to Mars?
Vegetarian or vegan.
Yeah, meat's going to be a hard thing. So vegetarians and vegans are most likely going to be that. Taking a look at why you think we eat so few different plants, a lot of you kind of got it, that we're picky, that we sort of have traditions, that we know what foods are safe, we know what foods we like to eat, and so we tend to stick to those, and we don't really diversify much. Even the whole population, right? 50% of global diets are based on just 3 crops, which is pretty nuts, but kind of aligns with what we're doing with our mission to Mars, right? We're going to only be able to bring 3 crops with us. And, you know, it turns out we already mostly eat only 3 crops anyway. So this would align with that. The main benefit of the Green Revolution was indeed to get more food from existing fields. But was it such like a good grand thing? Like, was everything good about the Green Revolution? Anyone know who it didn't really work out well for? You think like a,
wasn't it the middle and lower class farmers?
Yeah, because again, these sort of genetically altered plants, they grew really well in fields with a lot of fertilizer. And if you had the equipment to very quickly harvest everything, that's not really that accessible to a subsistence farmer in Africa. And so while this worked great for these large scale farms, it sort of left out or left behind some of these smaller farms. And so modern day, it's now we're kind of catching everybody up. But it's kind of interesting that this gets touted as such a positive thing. But in reality, there are a couple other things about it. Plus, it also led to a lot of monoculture. We now grow, you know, this one type of plant that we know grows well. It's not very good when something like a pest or disease can break out and wipe it out. So interesting things to consider. And it looked like a lot of you kind of had mixed feelings about whether or not you would drink a milkshake that had all the protein in it. And that's something we're going to explore a little bit more today as well. Any other questions or comments on the homework? Okay, there is a do now for you to complete. It's just 2 Edpuzzle videos that I would like you to watch, and I'm going to time this for 10 minutes to complete these, and then we'll come back together to discuss them. As usual, if you can't get the Edpuzzle links to work, I have links to just the videos below them, so you can just watch those. But all right, I'm going to time about 10 minutes, and then we'll come together to discuss, and just let me know if something doesn't work. Go for it. All right, how many of you have watched any parts of The Expanse on Amazon Prime? That's where the first clip was from. If you haven't, you should go check it out. If you're like science fiction, it's an awesome science fiction show. It's also an even really good book series. If you're a fan of Game of Thrones, the books are written by the 2 assistant writers to George R.R. Martin. So in this sci-fi series, humans have colonized Mars, and they have sort of a fake history where there's this big breakthrough in what they call the Epstein drive. That's what you're seeing, is this guy who sort of accidentally invents this extremely fuel efficient and very powerful space engine, basically. And so what's fun is it gets back to our lesson about physics. Why is he unable to reach up and hit the cancel button once he's launched? Like, what's going on?
He's like moving at such a rate where his like body is being pressed back against a chair, so he can speed up really fast in a car.
Yeah, so that high G burn, it's exactly like being in a car, right? That he is essentially creating what's called thrust gravity, right? That they're thrusting forward. And so he is, you know, if you see the little monitor, it says like 2 Gs, 3 Gs, 4 Gs. And what that means is you're experiencing that many times of normal gravity on Earth, right? That's what G is based on, that we're all at 1 G. and your body weighs what it would weigh in 1G. And he's getting up to 5 or 6, so his body is getting 5 times heavier than it normally would be, to the point where, if you saw his arm gets like crushed back behind him, and he's unable to stop the machine because he switched off the voice command thing too. Anyway, I thought it was kind of a fun little reverse lesson. Now, in reality, do we have anything like that, like an Epstein drive? No, that's a sci-fi show. But again, you guys are actually living currently in history, and this is something that astronauts have to train for, is they have to train to experience high G, because they delayed the launch till Saturday, but SpaceX is hoping to launch how many astronauts? Anyone know? 2 astronauts, right? And they've been trained to experience this high G that they're going to go through as they launch off. Anyone know where they're headed?
The space station.
To the ISS. And this is a big deal because it's, so anyone know how long it's been since the US has launched astronauts into space?
9 years.
It's been 9 years. And we've had to launch from Russia every other time through their, what's called their Soyuz program, and the cosmonauts. So it's a big deal. This could be, the idea is that Elon Musk wants to basically commercialize space, that eventually you don't have to be an astronaut to go into space. You can be a paying customer. Now, granted, you're going to cost an unimaginable amount of money, I'm sure. But these are sort of what they see as the first steps towards people getting into space more regularly, getting to the moon. And again, especially with Elon Musk, his long-term plans to try to get humans to Mars. And so it's sort of apt that we're doing this case study here. Any other questions or comments on those videos? All right, it's meant to be just a little bit of inspiration that this is all real stuff that's happening right now. So we are going to continue with our case study today. That's our big goal, is to try to get through part 3 and part 4. I want to try to get us back into groups. We'll see if the breakout rooms work. But if you're looking back at the tasks list again, step 4, I have another link to the same case study document. So if you want to open that up just to look at, that's fine. But then step 5 is what we're going to be working on. This is part 3. You're going to go through what's called foodstuff selection. I'm going to share my screen here really quickly to walk you through what you're doing. What you're going to do is you're going to be using those 5 criteria that you chose in our previous lesson to choose 3 crops that you want to bring with you. They have a data table. I have a link for this on the discussion board, but here's what it looks like. And so you're going to be choosing from corn, rice, oats, barley, potatoes, wheat, and so on. There's about 15 different crops there, I think, a little more, that you can choose from. And they have different categories. So they tell you, like, what's the water usage, what's the yield, what's the fat content, what's the protein content. And they keep it simple. It's just high, medium, or low. And so what you need to do is only pay attention to the 5 criteria you chose. So you're only looking at those 5 criteria. You can ignore everything else. Just think of the 5 criteria that you chose and figure out which 3 of those crops you want to bring based on those 5 criteria. Which ones would be the best top 3 crops for you to bring based on the criteria that you decided on. So I tried to collect everyone's criteria on a little Excel doc, which you can open up. I have a link for there. But I've also allowed it that if you click on the link to go back to that Google form, you should be able to see the posts that were made by students. So you should be able to go see your previous posts that you wrote. Some of them didn't have names on them, and so I did my best to try to categorize them. But if groups work, you as a group are going to have to just quickly agree on what are the top 5 criteria you want to use, because I know everyone probably picked different things, and then work from there. If they don't work, then we'll just work individually. So that's what you're going to do for the next 20 minutes. We're going to set to work on, again, part 3. This is step number 5. All right, so I'm going to try the breakout rooms. Remember, if you get kicked out or if something doesn't work, please just rejoin the room, and we'll just do this individually. But I'm going to try to open up the rooms. So they're open. Let's see if this works. Cesar, I'm going to have to reassign you real quick. Cesar.
Should I go into the room or?
Oh, yes, you should go into the room.
Okay.
Yeah, you're part of a group. Let's see. Cesar, you're going to be joining Win and Bailey in room 3. Okay, you're set. So how many of you have seen The Matrix?
I have.
Oh man, one or two people. Nice. It's a good old movie. You should go check it out, especially if you're looking for something new to watch and you like sci-fi stuff. But yeah, kind of unpleasant to think of having to eat like a little oatmeal slurry constantly. It looks like most of you said you would kind of miss the consistency of other foods and things like that. But I think the key takeaway from that and what a lot of you got was, do you think that there's a sort of a perfect diet out there that would keep every single human healthy?
I don't think so, because like you can try stuff, but like everybody's human body like works different. So I don't think you could find one for like everyone in the world. Like you could try to do like the healthy options, but I think for some people it just like wouldn't work as well.
So what are some factors that you think would change things up, right? Like what would be different about people versus diet?
Mm, like I guess if you're
Veggies.
vegan, like you can't get like protein. It also matters if you're like trying to work out and stuff. So like if you're like vegetarian or you just don't eat meat, then you couldn't like have you'd have to like probably like, take like protein supplements instead of like a meat diet for someone
Hmm.
who likes meat.
Yeah, there's definitely some protein heavy, plant like beans and things like that are pretty protein heavy. But
Yeah.
yes, so fitness level would be one thing, and activity level. What else? Do you think age would play a role?
Yeah, age, not being able to eat like sugars or carbohydrates.
Yep.
Yeah.
Your metabolism changes hugely. I'm hitting that right now. I'm in my 30s now, and my body does not respond to food the same way it used to. Do you think things like ethnicity could also play a big role?
It could also be blood type.
Blood type. And there's also big issues with people's ethnicities in particular. If you look at the diets of Native Americans, for example, the way that they process alcohol as well as certain refined sugars is way different from the way that like a Caucasian or even African American descent person would. So there's a lot of things that play different roles. And yet, if you look at if you look at commercials, especially for diet stuff, you guys seen these commercials where it's like, okay, the perfect diet for everyone. Like, here's the one diet you should get on. Those are totally flawed because they're based on that idea of like, well, here's the one thing that should work for everyone. And it's not how things work. And so I think we've seen in recent years this sort of gear shift from this idea of like, here's the perfect diet to more of these like personalized diet services that are like, okay, send us your information. Like, what's your age? What's your activity level? What foods do you like to eat? And then they sort of personalize a plan for you. And those seem to be the more effective things now in terms of maintaining health. And so that's something I think that, and a lot of you mentioned this, we also would have to apply to our astronauts. Has anyone tried Soylent? No?
I
You can
have
buy it.
like a little bit of it.
Yeah, you can buy it in Target and a couple other places. If you go look in they have it in like the food supplements section, I think. I honestly tried it for a long time back when we were back on our 8-day schedule. I had a couple days a week where I had no lunch period, where I taught all 8 periods back to back. So I needed it because I could just drink something real quick, like in between classes, and not have to worry about it. And that's sort of the origin. The guy who started the company is like so busy he doesn't have time to eat, and so that was his idea of like, I just want to drink my meals, which is not how most people feel. It looked like most of you in your responses said that you weren't interested in trying it, but that astronauts definitely should consider it. But again, I think it's a good first step, but I think it's still part of that flawed idea of one thing for everyone. In reality, what probably should be happening is that you get a little personalized milkshake that is meant for like you and your nutrition only, and it's like designed to feed you. Might be a more sustainable thing. So
What does it taste like?
you can get all different flavors. The flavorless original, it tastes like the like tasty wheat, which is actually interestingly from the Matrix thing. It kind of has like a sweet weedy like oatmeal taste. But you can get chocolate, strawberry, vanilla. They make it all. They also make a caffeinated version now, so it's kind of interesting. Go look up the website if you're interested. All right. Any other questions or comments on those 2 videos? All right. In the interest of time, I wanted to kind of spend another 20 minutes on the Slack activity, but we're not going to be able to do that. But part 4 is just a reflection process. On the tasks list on Canvas, you're looking at the last step, step 7. It's just a reflection, and it's a Canvas quiz. So if you click on that, it should open up. to a Canvas quiz. And what I'd like you to do is only answer 4 of the 7 questions. So there are 7 questions posted there, but only answer 4 of them. The 4 that you answer, I'm going to be grading out of 3 points. So it's a total score of 12. So choose any 4 of them to answer. I'm only going to grade the first 4 I see if you answer more than 4. So take about 10 minutes to work on that right now. The links you have and everything for the reflection should be there. And then we'll come back together to just quickly review the homework before we conclude. So I'm going to time this more for about 9 minutes. Go for it. Let me know if something doesn't work.
Should I do that? I
think-
know it's graded, so probably not.
Yeah, no, and I don't know if you'd be able to open it too on it. Well, I guess I gave you that because you're not in Canvas, right? You don't have Canvas open.
No.
Okay. Does your school use Canvas or some kind of online program?
No, we didn't use Canvas. For any type of like quiz, we use.
Questions making sense to everybody? It's kind of more just getting you to reflect on the criteria, the foods, that kind of thing. So, we'll follow up a little bit on that on our very last class meeting, which is happening on Monday. This is it. Looking at the tasks list, your only homework is the Rube Goldberg machine. Please make sure that you have a final video ready to submit. I'm going to share my screen really quickly here on Flipgrid, and there's a link to it down on the bottom of the tasks list, but you can, where's my Flipgrid? Here it is. Here is the final assignment, find the Rube Goldberg machine share. Like you did with the simple machine, I would like it if you can kind of walk us through your machine and then start it and just make sure that it takes 15 seconds start to finish unaided and completes at least 4 of those 8 tasks. If you did film ahead of time and you didn't do the talking part or anything, don't worry about it. I wouldn't panic too much. The point is that we have those main things we're going to be graded on. So, and aside from that, just make sure you're handing in missing assignments and make sure you have completed the 4 parts of this case study that we've worked through. Any questions on that? All right, kiddos. Thank you very much. Have a good day. I'll hang around if anyone's got any specific questions.
Bye, thank you.